It was the kind of place where voices stayed calm, smiles stayed polished, and conflict was handled softly, if at all. So, when Meghan Markle walked onto the set that morning, no one expected tension. No one expected raised eyebrows, clipped answers, or silence so sharp it felt louder than shouting. And no one, especially Robin Roberts, expected that by the end of the interview, one of them would stand up and walk away. This wasn't supposed to happen on this show, but it did. The studio lights were warm, almost comforting. Soft blues and golds reflected off the polished desk, and the city skyline behind them glowed with early morning calm. Everything about Good Morning America was designed to feel safe, measured, reassuring, predictable. Robin Roberts sat upright, notes neatly aligned in front of her, her posture relaxed but attentive. She had done thousands of interviews like this. She knew how to listen without judging, how to ask without provoking. Across from her sat Meghan Markle. Meghan looked composed, immaculately dressed, shoulders back, hands folded with deliberate precision. Her expression was pleasant but guarded, the kind of smile that appeared on cue and disappeared just as easily. The cameras went live. "Meghan, thank you for being here," Robin said warmly. "I know mornings like this can be a lot." Meghan nodded. "Thank you for having me. I think it's important to have conversations that are honest." Robin smiled slightly. "That's exactly what we aim for." The first few minutes moved smoothly. Meghan spoke about her recent projects, her philanthropic work, the causes she said were closest to her heart. Her voice was calm, practiced. Every sentence felt carefully measured, as if it had been rehearsed, tested for tone, impact, and interpretation. Robin listened, occasionally nodding, occasionally glancing down at her notes. Then she leaned forward just a bit. "You've spoken a lot about your journey," Robin said gently. "About finding your voice after feeling unheard for so long." Meghan's smile tightened, just slightly. "Yes," she replied. "For a long time, my voice was controlled by others, by institutions, by expectations I didn't create." Robin didn't interrupt. She let the silence do its work. "And now?" Robin asked. "Now," Meghan said, lifting her chin, "I choose when and how I speak. That's empowerment." Robin nodded, but her eyes stayed steady. "Some people feel," she continued carefully, "that when you speak now, it's often about the same chapters, the same pain. They wonder, does revisiting it help you heal, or does it keep the wound open?" The temperature in the room changed. Meghan's fingers tightened together. Her smile faded, not dramatically, but noticeably. "I think that question assumes healing has an expiration date," she said. "It assumes people are comfortable with trauma only when it's quiet." Robin kept her tone even. "I'm not questioning the trauma. I'm asking about the balance between sharing your truth and living beyond it." For a brief moment, Meghan said nothing. The silence stretched longer than expected. Then she exhaled softly. "With respect," she said, "I don't think anyone gets to decide when another person should move on." Robin didn't flinch. "Of course not. But public life invites public questions." Meghan's eyes flicked toward the camera and back. "Public life also invites unfair scrutiny." The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. Robin adjusted slightly in her chair. "That scrutiny," she said, "comes with influence. And you have a lot of it." Meghan leaned back now, crossing one leg over the other. "Influence doesn't mean obligation to explain myself endlessly." Robin nodded once. "No, but it does mean people listen. And when they listen, they respond." Meghan's jaw tightened. "I think," she said slowly, "there's a difference between listening and dissecting." Robin held her gaze. "There is. But honest conversations sometimes feel uncomfortable." Meghan gave a short, controlled laugh. "Uncomfortable for whom?" Robin paused. "For everyone." A producer off camera shifted. The energy behind the cameras had changed too. Crew members glanced at each other, sensing the shift, but unsure where it would land. Meghan straightened, smoothing her sleeve. "I came here to talk about progress, not to relitigate pain for entertainment." Robin's voice remained calm, but firmer now. "This isn't entertainment, it's context." Meghan's eyes narrowed, just slightly. "Context can be a weapon," she said. Robin didn't respond immediately. She simply looked at Meghan, letting the weight of the words settle between them. The studio felt smaller now, tighter, and for the first time that morning, it was clear. This interview was no longer moving forward politely. It was beginning to push back. The polite rhythm of morning television was gone now. Robin Roberts sat back slightly, but her eyes never left Meghan. This was no longer a warm introduction segment. It had shifted into something quieter, sharper. The kind of interview where every word mattered more than the last. Meghan sensed it too. Robin glanced briefly at her notes, then looked up. "You've said many times that stepping away from certain institutions was about protecting your mental health." Meghan nodded. "Absolutely, self-preservation is not selfish." "I agree," Robin said, "but some critics say the constant retelling of that experience, books, interviews, documentaries, keeps you in the very space you said you needed to leave." Meghan's lips pressed together. "I don't control how many people ask me to speak," she replied. "I control whether I'm honest when I do." Robin tilted her head slightly. "But honesty can also be selective." The air shifted again. Meghan's posture stiffened. "Are you suggesting I'm not being honest?" "I'm suggesting," Robin said calmly, "that perspective changes depending on who's listening." Meghan let out a small breath through her nose. "That's true for everyone, including interviewers." Robin didn't rise to it. "Fair point, but when you speak about harm, you're also speaking about others, family members, institutions, people who don't respond publicly." Meghan's eyes darkened. "Silence doesn't equal innocence." Robin folded her hands. "No, but it also doesn't allow balance." For a moment, Meghan said nothing. The pause felt deliberate, almost strategic. "Balance," Meghan said slowly, "is often code for comfort, and comfort usually favors the powerful." Robin's expression remained steady. "And responsibility often follows influence." Meghan leaned forward now, elbows resting lightly on her knees. "Responsibility to whom?" "To the audience," Robin replied. "To the truth, to the impact your words have." Meghan smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I don't believe in living my life to manage other people's discomfort." Robin nodded. "But you live very publicly." "That doesn't make me public property," Meghan said, her tone sharpening. Robin didn't interrupt. "And yet," Meghan continued, "I'm constantly asked to explain myself in ways others never are." Robin met her gaze. "Because your story invited the world in." The sentence landed heavier than expected. Meghan blinked. "Once. I shared my story," she said. "I didn't invite interrogation." Robin raised an eyebrow slightly. "Some would say interviews are exactly that." A quiet murmur passed behind the cameras. One of the producers subtly adjusted her headset. Meghan crossed her arms. "Then perhaps interviews should evolve." Robin leaned forward now, her voice still calm but unmistakably firm. "Evolution also means accountability." Meghan's eyes flashed. "Accountability to whom, exactly?" "To consistency," Robin said. "To clarity." Meghan shook her head. "That sounds like policing." Robin's tone didn't change. "It sounds like journalism." The word hung between them. Meghan laughed softly, but it was edged with irritation. "Journalism shouldn't feel like a courtroom, and public trust isn't built without questions," Robin replied. Meghan sat back, uncrossing her arms, but clenching her hands together. "I think what's happening here," she said carefully, "is that I'm being asked to defend my pain." Robin responded immediately. "No, you're being asked to contextualize it." Meghan's jaw tightened. "That's a distinction without a difference." Robin paused, then spoke slower. "Then, help me understand your boundary. What's fair to ask, and what isn't?" Meghan hesitated. The silence felt longer this time, more uncomfortable. "My boundary," Meghan said at last, "is being reduced to a narrative that others dissect for ratings." Robin nodded once. "This show doesn't operate on that." Meghan met her eyes. "Then why does it feel like it does?" Robin didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced briefly toward the camera, then back to Meghan. "Because sometimes," she said, "truth is uncomfortable when it isn't fully controlled." The tension was no longer subtle. Meghan straightened, her voice cooler now. "I don't control truth. I tell mine." Robin responded just as evenly. "And others will examine it." Meghan inhaled deeply, then exhaled. "I expected better," she said quietly. Robin didn't look offended. "I expected honesty." The studio lights felt brighter. The smiles were gone, and it was clear now. This wasn't going to resolve itself gently. It was heading somewhere sharper. The shift was impossible to ignore now. What had started as a composed exchange had turned into something raw, less polished, less predictable. Even the studio crew could feel it. The usual morning show cadence was gone, replaced by careful breaths and longer pauses. Robin Roberts leaned back slightly, but her voice remained steady. "You've spoken a lot about being misunderstood." Meghan nodded once. "Because I was," Robin continued. "But when multiple accounts conflict, former staff, palace sources, even past interviews, you can understand why people ask where the truth sits." Meghan's eyes narrowed. "Anonymous sources don't get to define my life." Robin didn't flinch. "They don't, but patterns raise questions." Meghan let out a sharp breath. "Patterns are easy to create when the media decides what fits." Robin leaned forward again. "Then let's talk specifics." Meghan's posture stiffened immediately. "In past interviews," Robin said, "you've described feeling isolated, yet records show extensive support offered early on." Meghan's lips parted slightly, then pressed together. "Support on paper isn't the same as support in reality," she said. Robin nodded. "That's fair, but when support is declined, how should the public interpret that?" Meghan's head tilted. "Why does the public need to interpret anything at all?" "Because," Robin replied, "you've made your story public." Meghan's fingers tightened around each other. "You keep circling back to that." Robin answered calmly, "Because it's the center of the conversation." Meghan shook her head. "No, the center of the conversation is how a woman is punished for speaking up." Robin's tone sharpened just slightly. "Or how narratives gain power when they aren't challenged." Meghan looked directly at her now. "So, this is a challenge? This is an interview," Robin said evenly. Meghan leaned back, her expression shifting from controlled to visibly irritated. "Then, let's be honest about what kind." Robin met her gaze. "One that doesn't avoid discomfort." Meghan laughed quietly, but there was no humor in it. "Discomfort seems to be the goal," Robin responded without hesitation. "Clarity is." Meghan looked off to the side briefly, toward the producers, the lights, the invisible audience, then back to Robin. "You're asking me to reconcile trauma with timelines," Meghan said. "That's not clarity, that's cruelty." Robin's voice softened, but didn't retreat. "It's context." Meghan's eyes flashed. "Context for who?" "For viewers trying to understand," Robin said. "Not to judge." "But they do," Meghan interrupted sharply. The interruption was sudden, unmistakable. Robin paused. The interruption echoed louder than any raised voice. "They judge," Meghan continued, her words coming faster now. "They dissect. They decide what pain is acceptable and what isn't." Robin replied calmly, "That's not this conversation." "It feels exactly like it," Meghan said. Robin inhaled, then asked carefully, "Do you feel attacked right now?" Meghan didn't answer immediately. Her jaw tightened. "I feel cornered," she said. Robin nodded once. "That isn't my intention." "But it is the effect," Meghan replied. "And intention doesn't erase impact." Robin leaned back slightly. "Then, let me ask you this. What would a fair interview look like to you?" Meghan's laugh this time was sharper. "One where I'm not asked to defend my own experience." Robin's tone turned firmer. "And what about the responsibility that comes with shaping public perception?" Meghan's composure cracked just a little. "I didn't ask to be a symbol," she said. "I didn't ask to carry everyone's expectations." Robin responded quietly. "But you accepted the platform." Meghan leaned forward suddenly. "And you're using it against me." Robin's eyes widened slightly, not in shock, but in recognition. "That's not true," she said. Meghan shook her head. "You say that, but every question is framed like a contradiction." Robin held her gaze. "Because contradictions exist." Silence fell again. This time, it felt heavy. Meghan exhaled slowly, then spoke with measured restraint. "I came here expecting conversation, not cross-examination." Robin replied calmly, "And I expected openness." Meghan stood up straighter in her chair. "Openness doesn't mean surrender." Robin's voice was steady, but unmistakably firm now. "Neither does accountability." The two women locked eyes. The smiles were gone. The warmth was gone. And for the first time, Meghan glanced down, then back up, with something close to resolve. "This is going somewhere I'm not comfortable with," she said quietly. Robin nodded. "Sometimes the truth does." Meghan's hand shifted on the armrest. She wasn't leaving yet. But it was clear now. She was deciding. The silence stretched longer than television ever allows. Robin Roberts held her posture steady, hands folded, eyes still on Meghan. The camera stayed wide now, instinctively capturing the tension that no producer could soften. Meghan sat motionless for a moment. Her breathing was controlled, but shallow. The muscles in her jaw worked as if she were weighing every possible outcome. Robin broke the silence carefully. "I don't want this to feel adversarial." Meghan looked at her, disbelief flickering across her face. "Then why does it feel like I'm on trial?" Robin answered calmly. "Because questions can feel threatening when they don't follow a script." That did it. Meghan's eyes hardened. "So this was about the script?" Robin's tone sharpened slightly. "No, it's about accountability." Meghan let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Accountability for what? For surviving something you've never had to live through?" Robin's expression changed. "You don't know what I've lived through." The air shifted. The other hosts exchanged brief glances. Michael Strawn leaned back, sensing the moment slipping out of control. George Stephanopoulos lowered his eyes to the desk, already knowing this wasn't going to recover. Meghan leaned forward. "This is exactly what people warned me about." Robin held her gaze. "And this is exactly why people still have questions." Meghan's voice rose, not shouting, but sharpened. "You invited me here under the guise of understanding, but this is interrogation dressed up as empathy." Robin responded evenly. "That's your interpretation." Meghan shook her head slowly. "No, it's your execution." A producer's voice crackled faintly in Robin's earpiece. She ignored it. Robin tried one last time. "Meghan, walking away from difficult questions doesn't help your case." Meghan's expression shifted, something final settling in. "My case," she said quietly, "isn't yours to prosecute." Robin straightened. "Then answer this. Do you regret how much damage your words caused?" That question hung in the air like a blade. Meghan stared at Robin, stunned. Not because of the question, but because it had been asked at all. "Damage," Meghan repeated. "You think I caused damage?" Robin didn't back down. Words have consequences. Meghan stood up. The movement was sudden, decisive. Chairs scraped softly against the studio floor. Gasps rippled through the set. "I'm not doing this," Meghan said, her voice steady but unmistakably shaken. "I came here to speak, not to be dissected." Robin rose slightly in her seat. "Meghan, sit down." "No," Meghan interrupted. "This ends now." She turned toward the cameras, her composure slipping just enough to reveal anger beneath the restraint. "I won't allow my pain to be reduced to sound bites," she said. "And I won't be spoken to. I owe anyone an explanation for surviving." Robin called after her. "Walking out doesn't answer anything." Meghan paused at the edge of the set. She turned back once, eyes locked on Robin. "Neither did this interview." Then she walked off. The cameras hesitated, unsure whether to follow. One stayed wide, another caught Robin standing frozen, lips pressed together. Michael Strawn stared after Meghan, stunned. George Stephanopoulos adjusted his papers without looking up. No one spoke. 5 seconds passed. 10. Robin finally turned back to the camera, her professional instinct kicking in. "Well," she said carefully, "that was not how we expected today to end." Her voice remained composed, but the strain was unmistakable. "We invited Meghan Markle here to have an open conversation," Robin continued. "Viewers can decide for themselves what they saw." The camera pulled back. The festive morning show set felt colder now, the lights harsher, the smiles gone. Off camera, Meghan's footsteps faded down the corridor. The interview was over, but the fallout had just begun. If this story kept you watching until the end, Hit like and subscribe for more high-tension talk show confrontations and behind-the-scenes drama. New stories every week, and the next one might be even more exciting.